Okay, good morning, everybody. My name is Mike Grieve. I'm Commercial Director at MoSys Engineering in London. I've been involved in virtual production since its inception about 25 years ago. And today we're talking about the future of VP training and how that relates to the next big push in VP, which is LED volumes. So with me, I've got a very interesting panel here. To my left, I've got Adam Sohn, who's head of virtual production at Bendak. They're a manufacturer of LED tiles for film and broadcast, as well as other uses. Next to him, I've got Kieran Phillips from CJP Broadcast. They're an integrator and a supplier and dealer, and they specialize also in virtual production solutions. Next to him, I have Nick Lean, who's senior lecturer at Sunderland University, who's just invested a huge amount of money in a LED volume for teaching virtual production to first-year graduate students, which is great news. And then on the end, we've got Juliette Thyme, who heads up the MoSys Academy, teaching virtual production either in conjunction with universities or cross-training for professionals who've worked in production but haven't worked in virtual production. And she runs the courses both in London at MoSys in Greenwich and also in our LA office. And again, trying to fill this void in the talent pool. And this is really what this speech is all about, is trying to get people cross-trained, up to speed, to fill the roles that are appearing and have been appearing for years, where the talent just isn't there to basically drive virtual production forwards. So there are lots of projects, there are lots of ambitions, there's no shortage of money, but there's a massive shortage in people who understand virtual production and how to get the very best out of it, which is really all about saving money and saving time. So, quick overview of virtual production. Started mid-1990s, 3 companies doing it, mainly broadcast. Each tracked camera had to have a massive Onyx computer, and it was very rudimentary. The graphics weren't really photorealistic. They were okay. Roll forward to today, where we can do the same processing on a PC with a GPU card. We can have 3-dimensional tracking, so now the camera can move around freely, even on a Steadicam. And the key thing that we have now is photorealistic graphics from people like Epic Games with Unreal Engine and others coming into the marketplace. So the whole marketplace has changed. One of the key things that happened about 2 years ago was that Mandalorian was released. And they shot inside an LED volume a lot of the visual effects shots in the series. And that kick-started this whole revolution of not using green screen or blue screen for virtual production, but using actually LED volumes. And we actually have one upstairs as well that you can go and have a look at. But the next big driver in this virtual production wave is LED being used in broadcast, and secondly, all graphics in broadcast coming from the Unreal Engine. So today, just talking about the graphics, you have traditional graphics companies doing lower thirds and over-the-shoulder graphics, and then they use Unreal Engine for AR and virtual sets. What's about to happen is that Epic's going to release version 5.1 of Unreal Engine. It's got broadcast tools in there, and so now all the graphics can be done on Unreal Engine, and they can be done in 2D or 3D as AR or as part of a virtual set. So that's the first thing we need to train people on, how the hell do you use this? And the second thing is, how do we use LED in broadcast? And the use case is primarily in news. So swapping backgrounds that are traditionally either just video reels on low quality screens or green screen to high resolution quality LED displays, okay? So let's discuss this quickly because although we have products that address these particular technological problems, there are other considerations here. First of all, you need a company who understands virtual production and how it all goes together. So I'm going to introduce over here on my left, Kieran Phillips, who's sales manager for CJP. They're a partner of ours, and they basically system integrate virtual production solutions, whether they're green screen, blue screen, LED, for sports, broadcast, or corporate. So Kieran, tell us a little bit about CJP and what they specialize in and what they've done recently.
Thanks, Mike. Yeah, so CJP Broadcast, we're a traditional system integrator, but throughout COVID, with the acceleration of virtual production, we closely aligned ourselves with MoSys Engineering and the innovative solutions that they were bringing forward. Our key focus is education, so we're working on a number of projects at the moment involving LED from BENDAC, INFLED, and specifically with the University of Sunderland. So we're delighted to be building a brand new LED stage for the university, for the David Putnam Media Centre. A part of that is a wide range of technology that we're installing. So we're installing ROS Video for traditional broadcast workflows, and MoSys are heavily driving not just the green screen studio that we built last year, but now the new LED stage with Brompton, INFLED, and bringing in Red Komodos as well. So yeah, we're heavily involved in education. So moving forward, SIs like ourselves need to adapt to what's required. So especially with universities, and it's more than just fixing a problem or supplying a product and service. It's co-collaboration and co-partnership. So we've had a number of interesting conversations, Nick, around this, and it's providing pathways for students and staff into the industry, linking up with the MoSys Academy, for example, in providing that core knowledge for around virtual production, because it's a very new area. Sure. So it's going to take a lot for people to get their heads around, and so having the MoSys Academy available is key to our work in education and the links that we're providing to universities.
Cool.
So
when we come on to Nick a little later, and he can talk about his experiences and his project and his ambitions. But actually, I talked earlier about these two new drivers coming in. One is all broadcast graphics being driven from the Unreal Engine, and the second one is LED screens coming into broadcast. So you'll know that live events, you've been to pop gigs, those big screens, they use very high pixel pitch LED tiles, and they're perfect for outdoors. They're built for sunny environments, so you can actually see the content. And in the beginning, these are the sort of tiles that were used for doing virtual production, but they're not really fit for purpose. What we need in our industry is tiles that are fit for purpose. They have the right color imagery, they have the right light output, they have the right viewing angle, and so on and so on. So here to talk about that probably is Adam, who works at BENDAC, and they provide fit-for-purpose LED tiles for film and broadcast. Did you want to talk a little bit about the technologies you've got?
No, absolutely, thanks. I think going back slightly and sort of talking about the live events, I think going from something like The Mandalorian, it was very much a proof of concept that it kind of spilled over into production, and there was obviously challenges and learnings that came from that, ultimately filming a walking mirror, encapsulating the performance in LED to get light reflections in real time and things was obviously essential to that. So live performance panels, looking at things like high refresh rates, good color space and things like that naturally led to that world. But what we found from a number of productions over the last few years and volumes and use cases, and actually just listening to what content producers are looking for, there's lots of new developments that have been made. So things like the scan rate of the LED so that we can get maximum color performance on camera at low brightness, for example. There's been a huge drive in control chips and things, obviously linked with part shortages and things. It's been a big challenge, but that's had a massive impact on what we can actually do with LED as a platform. The lenses on the front of the LEDs themselves have made a massive difference, and also the color space that we can get to. And I know lots of people will talk about HDR and a full Rec 2020 color space workflow, but LED just isn't there yet. It's around kind of 91% up above the P3 space. But that's ever evolving and that's ever growing, so that's always a massive consideration. But that color space, and obviously linking whether that's new innovations in the actual chips themselves to make it an RGBW chip to give you that wider color gamut, for example. The lensing as well, obviously, as we talked about on the front, is really important, from minimizing things like color shift. Obviously, a moving camera is going to have a different viewing angle on all the LEDs. You'll get dips and peaks, and trying to overcome that with the technology has been a massive driver for the last couple of years. So ourselves and a few other kind of the top tier manufacturers are also looking at new generation panels which address a lot of those problems. So it very much is taking existing platforms but actually very much tailoring them specifically for use with cameras in volumes and broadcast studios.
Okay, brilliant. So that's all about the technology, the LED tiles, the use case coming up in broadcast, specifically in news. and all the servers and tracking related that you would need for that. But then we're in this void of not having people who understand how this kit works, how to get the best out of it, how to maximize its potential. So I want to go to Nick, who's senior lecturer at Sunderland University, who have just put in probably the most advanced educational volume in the UK. And he's done that with a vision of where he's taking Sunderland University and the talent pool that he wants to generate, which is very exciting for us, because without the operators, there's no point selling equipment. So, Nick, tell us a bit about what you're doing up in Sunderland.
Well, glad to be here, guys. Thank you, thank you for the invite. What we're doing at Sunderland is creating an ecosystem. We're trying to create a very innovative ecosystem to support the development of new technology. So in regards to undergraduate programs, we all have an asset, which is the television space, which needs to be redone or refurbished. But there's always a kind of question as to what to do with that. Yeah. Virtual production allows us now to go back into the space, reuse the assets, to develop the technology to take us forward to where things are developing. And as far as we're concerned, it's building that into the undergraduate program. How do you build all this wonderful technology into an undergraduate program that has a traditional base, but yet can still use this technology to advance the students and members of staff? And the other thing we're thinking about is whatever the advances are as the development, it is not just a beeline to London, but it's a horizontal line that goes within the region. So not just Sunderland, if you think Bedford, Gloucester, all these other institutions that are out there that are thinking about how do we compete with major cities are now in the game where they weren't kind of before, because they're generating cutting-edge technology, they're generating students who are able to deliver, and they're also generating it within the region. So now we can have multiple bases of where we can have virtual production hubs all over the country. And there's lots of consortiums, like in higher education at the moment, there's consortiums building together to already construct and prepare for how we can think about teaching and developing virtual production within the higher education and also in further education with the new T levels that are coming in as well.
Okay, that's brilliant. So before we had visionaries like Nick investing in this technology, there was a requirement for manufacturers like us, who are at the pinnacle of virtual production innovation, to have some way of training some people, to train the trainers, to basically push the education out to the marketplace. So we started the MoSys Academy, and Juliet Thymi, I'll introduce in a second, just heads up that academy. This is all about taking and working in collaboration with training entities or education entities where we add in the real-world on-set experience that we get, because we do shows like Strictly Come Dancing, Limitless. We've worked on Netflix shows, and we do this because they're technically really difficult to do and it hasn't been done before, or we need to test our product. So we have all that experience, so we wanted to give that back to the next generation. So we started the Academy, and Juliet runs that, and we've had quite a few successful runs. We're about to do one in LA. So Juliet, tell us what we're doing in the Academy, what it's all about.
Yeah, so exactly as Mike just explained, we were working on set for many years. We were involved in virtual production, so we started realizing that more people want to be involved, but they don't have the knowledge or the experience. So that's how we started the MoSys Academy about 18 months ago. We started with small workshops, daily workshops for students or university educators that wanted to come and do their project and start teaching virtual production. So it became a bigger thing in the last 4 months, I think, that we have now created our own in-house courses, 3-day introductory courses about virtual production, or more into depth about foundation of virtual production for 5 days or 10 days. We hosted our first 2-week courses a month ago. One of them, actually, Nicholas was able to attend. So we were really happy about that. They went really well. So now we're having a whole group of courses during the summer. And yes, practically what we're doing is we're teaching the foundation of virtual production. It's mainly focused on the equipment we are using, because that's what we do. We have our own technicians. Everybody who has been on set and has this practical experience is teaching on the course. And the main focus is the hands-on experience. So what we offer is come to the studio and do everything by yourself. You're going to be able to use the equipment, you're going to be able to see the green screen, the LED wall, and create projects. All of our training is exactly that, project-based.
Good. Okay, thanks, Jay. So upstairs we have a taster session. If you want to try out some of the training and see whether it's suitable for you, or you want to try it out for colleagues, then we're doing a little taster at Studio X running. We also have a mini LED volume upstairs, just showing you the techniques and technology involved. Adam's kindly supplied that from Bendak. You can have a look at that as well. So to answer the question, what's the future of virtual production training? The future is, it's ongoing. It will never stop, because virtual production isn't something that's, so we've arrived at the finish point. We're really at the beginning in terms of using photorealistic real-time engines. It's just going to get more and more interesting. So we will need training ongoing, and we will need to work with professional training and education entities, because we can't reach the masses as a manufacturer. We need to work in collaboration and in conjunction with them. So that's it. So thanks for sitting down. Do you have any questions for the panel? Feel free to ask. Yeah.
Hi, Eggy here.
Hi.
I work on a branded content, and I'm wondering how this technology could be adapted to a corporate environment. Would it be any, do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it is. I mean, corporates, over the last 10 or so years, the cost of broadcast kit has come down. And so the AV suppliers are now supplying essentially a lot of the same kit that the broadcast suppliers are supplying. So they can supply a virtual studio, be it green screen or LED volume, in the same way we would supply a broadcaster. So absolutely, it's the same technology. And they would use it for things like training, chairman's speeches, launching new products, bringing all the offices around the world together. There's even a technique called, remind me what it's called, where we can have somebody in one location, shot against screen, called
Beaming.
Beaming, that's right. And we can actually bring them into a virtual studio here, and we can map them in, make the size correct, color correct them, and it looks like they're together. So we can do all these really clever things. So absolutely, the AV market in corporate is a target for us, yeah.
And then one more, is the academy taking a place in London, the training?
So right now we have all the courses happening in our studios at London, in Greenwich. We have some happening in LA. Mainly, for now at least, we only do it in person, so that you get the practical and hands-on experience. But of course, there are also different types of training, like Mike maybe can explain, because we do training for our equipment, or for LED walls and display and XR extended sets, which can also be remotely.
Okay, thank you.
Pleasure. Any other questions tonight? No? Okay, so if you want to find out any more about Moses or Bendak, or talk to Nick or Kieran, we're upstairs. Taster session for VP training, LED volume, and we're up there to answer any other questions you've got. So thank you for watching and attending. Thank you.